Welcome. Our date today with a new terrifying story. About the child inhabited by spirits. An exciting story that will impress you. Our friend Naira says, I feel that it happened and real and I did not lie in any character I wrote today. Since I was a child and I do not believe in the presence of jinn, goblins, ghosts and all these strange horror things. That surround their stories with horror and tension and fear them madly, fools forgive me. I was wondering why your minds are full of all those superstitions and fear. I cannot believe their existence in the first place, until what happened to me happened and believed and convinced completely that those things are around us everywhere. Just waiting for the opportunity, the occasion to show us that she is here. I have been living in Sharjah for many years with my family and married an Egyptian who lives there. And the circumstances wanted us to return to Egypt. My husband's work was transferred to Egypt. We did not have an apartment in Cairo, and we had no one either, because I did not go to Egypt since I was 11 years old. I was visiting my grandmother before God died. My grandmother had an apartment in Doki in an old house. We decided to live in it until we found another apartment and furnish it. The house was very old and old politicians, but we decided to stay until we prepared an apartment for housing. My husband was looking for a good apartment at a good price. Until we furnished it, and the surprise was my husband found an apartment at a very attractive price. And cheapened in an area close to my grandmother's old house in Daki. It was in a very high-end building and imminent. And the strange thing is that it was fully furnished with all its foundations and electrical appliances. It was a very luxurious apartment and beautiful, and its foundation is luxurious and its decor is beautiful and quiet. Everything in the apartment was attractive in real, and we were going to buy an apartment and prepare it again. And this is something very difficult with a little girl who did not complete the 3 years. Our apartment and all our things in Sharjah. It is just a year or two and we will return to my husband's company and our lives there. I went to the apartment and asked the wife of the guard to clean it so that we can move our belongings and things. The apartment is very beautiful and comfortable, except its bad smell muffled. There is a strong smell and something stinky. Located in the apartment, I do not know where the smell is constant, does not change. The wife of the guard finished the apartment very quickly. I do not know, I said maybe you want to finish quickly as the apartment was clean, right? Also said, but the smell only. I cleaned the apartment but the smell did not go away, and we moved to live in it. Was all right, there is nothing strange. And one day my daughter was playing in the ration, and I was preparing lunch. I felt very cold in the kitchen, and the sound of the feet of his feet outside. I thought that my husband had returned from the outside. I called him but I did not hear his voice. I called my little girl next but she did not respond. I rushed to run with fear that she entered the balcony while we were in the 8th floor was high, and I found Talia sitting on the floor with a black cover book and cutting his papers. My daughter was in the middle of the circle exactly from the papers cut out of the pages of the book. Talia was stray and looking forward. I do not know where I brought the book. I approached her and I called her what to do. My love did not reply to me but she was completing cutting. I looked at the papers of the book, were all strange and terrifying drawings of demons and God forbid from the devil diet. I felt a contraction in my chest and the smell increased. I lifted my daughter from the ground with fear. And I tell her enough but she started screaming loudly and hitting me with a hysteria, to complete the play. Did not act from the earth with fear before that way. She was agitated in a very strange way. I tried to calm her down but I did not know she started biting and hitting me with great violence until my husband came from the outside. And shocked what is happening also, I told him what happened while I was crying. My husband grabbed my daughter strongly and tried to calm her down. She started crying and screaming and then he started reading her a cream reading until she calmed down and took her in his lap until she slept. I looked at him with astonishment. I do not understand what happened to her today. I collected those papers and the book and put them in a black bag for the garbage. My husband came out and asked me what happened. I told him I didn't know, and here I smelled strong smoke and a fire that sped up the kitchen, and the analysis came on fire. It looks like I forgot to close the fire and I got busy with my daughter and what happened with her. Although I remember that I closed the pot, I don't know. That day I felt bad. I put the book in the garbage box, and we asked for ready food. And 2 days after that incident I was very tired. I lay on the bed and closed my eyes, and here I felt something heavy. He lands next to me on the bed, as if someone slept or sat on the bed next to me. I didn't ask. I think he's my husband. And I didn't talk because I was really tired and I didn't want to talk. My mobile rang, and that I thought it had been my mother. She opened the phone and my husband was talking, and here I jumped out of bed in panic. I sought refuge in God from the accursed Satan. And that I looked next to me, but there was nobody there. I ran like hell to my daughter's room, and he or she was sleeping, and located her opening the window of the area and standing on a seat and half of it down. I don't know how to open it, because I don't know how to open it because it's rigid. I screamed and went. I took her in my lap and started crying in terror. Then I felt that someone was sleeping next to me on the bed and stuck to my body in a strange way, to the point that I feel the heat of his body, and my husband is at work. I could not stand all this except my daughter's strange behavior. I decided to leave. I will not bear what is happening. There is something strange in that apartment, I know. I went to the neighbor in the apartment next to me and rang the bell and asked her about the former residents of the apartment. She told me that her occupants were a young man, a semi-couple, their young son, and the father, the husband's father. The apartment migrated to Astria, but no one continues in it, but left it and sold it and left. I do not know whether their souls are still stuck in the apartment. And they are the ones who annoy me and my little daughter, and is the book that my daughter found is one of the books of the mad grandfather. I do not know, but I will not dwell in it again. I told my husband, he told me that it was real and he knew, but he did not believe in those things. And I did not believe until he saw what was happening to our daughter. Until we returned to the Emirates again, I do not know why this frightening situation happened to me. So, ghosts wanted me to know that they exist and live among us. For ghosts are real and exist, and the souls of the dead remain in some places and cannot leave them. In the end, I hope you liked the story. And thanks to our friend,